Hey, everybody, welcome back. My name is Deborah Peters, and you are part of the Deborah Peters Show, and I appreciate you being here. We're almost halfway through December, and it's an exciting time as we wind down the year. We get to leave behind all of our old patterns, our old way of thinking, our old ways of being, all the stuff that hasn't served us, and we've just kind of chugged along because we really didn't know any different. But now we get a fresh start, and it's just right around the corner. And I wanted to, on that note, share with you some new things that are happening for me. You know, I created this podcast during the pandemic because I wanted people to have access to information that was of a higher level of consciousness so that you weren't caught up in a fear-based program that had you terrified of your own shadow. And it's been fantastic. Now, what I've decided to do, talk about change and doing things differently and creating new ways of being, is I've decided to go on hiatus for a while. I've had two books that are half written forever and ever, and it's just really time to wrap those up and get those done and out to the world. And so I'm going to shut everything down in terms of my business for a while. I'm not going to do any coaching or training or consulting for about 3 months. And I'm going to put my podcasts at rest for a little bit and just focus on getting those two books done and over to the editors and the publishers and out the door to you. So doesn't mean I've gone anywhere. It's just going to be a little hiatus. That's it. All right, so today's guest is Dr. Marcia Martin. She's fantastic. She's all about self-love. And you all know, after watching my show for the last few years, that that's what I stand for. And it just has such a massive change and difference and impact on your life once you even understand that there is such a thing and that that concept exists and that you can apply it to your life. So, Marcia, thank you so much for being here today.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm always excited to share about self-love.
I understand that totally. And, you know, it's an interesting term, self-love. Goodness knows we've all been toying with it. Any of us that are in the realm of personal growth or spiritual growth, we've been playing with it for maybe decades. But let's just break it down for people, because it's one thing to hear the terminology, but it's another thing to actually understand what that terminology means. So what in your mind, what does that mean to you?
For me, it is unconditional love and acceptance, understanding that I can only be perfect for the moment in which I am occupying. So
Yeah.
I have to give myself grace for what I didn't know in the past, and then give myself the opportunity to learn what I will need for the future. And that means I just need to concentrate on being my best self in this moment. And if
Mm,
I'm having a moment where things are just not gelling, then I have to offer myself unconditional love and acceptance and
yeah.
say, it's okay. Hey, look at all that you have accomplished. Look at how far you've come. Look at what you've been able to do. It's okay. Take that breath, take that moment, be at peace right here. And
Yeah.
that feeling of, oh, I'm okay and it's okay. What can you accomplish from here? I don't
Exactly.
And I don't know about you, but I grew up in a very sort of critical
Oh,
environment. And it
girl.
was always, "Oh, you're not good enough," or "That's all you could do," and so it made me unable to be at peace in this moment. I was just never good enough, so I wasn't good enough yesterday. There was no hope I was going to be good enough tomorrow. And so I would just spend this moment being very tense and
Oh,
frantically trying to find a way to be something that I could admire, not love.
be accepted.
Yeah,
To be
could
accepted. Yeah.
just could I admire who I was in this moment? And I never found it because the criticism kept me from that place.
Do you think that was an era? Because I grew up in that too, and it was harsh. And I'm a very sensitive person, and it was crushing for me. Like it would completely tear me down. And um, so what happened for me is that I would I would brace myself, like you said, tense up, right? I
Yeah.
would brace myself for it, but in the bracing, like it's like a defense, right? Fight, flight, or freeze. So in that froze moment of bracing for the impact, what actually I ended up doing, I learned all this in retrospect, working on myself, right?
Right.
Is that I didn't actually deflect it. Even in the bracing, I ended up absorbing it.
Yes. Oh boy. Best sponge on the planet.
And then later, I'm like, what is all of this trauma in my body? And
Why why do I hurt so badly?
everywhere, all the time. It's insanity. I had this crazy experience last week where I ended up in the ER getting a blood transfusion.
Ooh.
And yeah, it was on Wednesday, and my hemoglobin was a 3 out of 12. So technically I
Oh,
should have been dead, because I
oh
guess
my.
once you hit 4 out of 12, you're like cardiac arrest. But somehow I have like this massive connection to God that just kept me like moving forward. And so while I was going through the blood transfusion, they were pumping bags of blood into me for like 2.5 days.
Wow.
What was coming out, and like I've done 25 years of personal growth work and coaching. And so I say this for the audience because you never stop working on yourself. So any of you that think, I already fixed that, no, you didn't. Um, so what was coming out was this like massive anxiety. I didn't know I had that much anxiety because I was spent my whole life bracing myself, which is like the antithesis of self-love.
Yes, and also there's that other aspect of never good enough.
Yeah.
So, I relate to you saying, "Well, I haven't finished these books." Well, I used to write romantic suspense novels, and everyone
Ooh.
said, "You'll never get a book published." So I said, "Okay, well, now I have to." So, wrote the book in 6 months or whatever it was, got it published, and then said, "Oh, so what?"
Oh
You know,
no.
there's always a "You're not good enough. So what that you accomplished this? So what that you got that degree?
Oh no,
So what?"
Marcia.
And that's what I had to retrain, was really understanding it
Yeah.
is okay to celebrate your accomplishments. It
Yeah.
doesn't make you better than another person. Certainly, I was raised in the don't boast, don't brag, don't be better than. You can celebrate your accomplishment and celebrate you without
Mhm.
demeaning another person. It is
100%.
lovely to be self-honoring, and you can certainly honor someone else as well. But when you don't feel good about you, it is difficult for you to really, first of all, express your authenticity in the world, and we need you right now. And
Yeah. Well, in fact,
also,
when you're, sorry to cut you off, when you're self-loving, you are celebrating others.
yes, that's the other part of this, which is
Right.
so dynamic, which is when you are overflowing with love, you can't wait to build somebody up, to lift them up,
Right.
to inspire and encourage
Champion
them.
them. Hmm.
Yes, but when you're defeated because
Oh,
of your own training or thought process and all of the trauma that you're holding in your heart, you're so heavy, it's difficult to motivate you to be that inspiration for someone else. So what we do for ourselves positively impacts the world when
Yeah.
we are allowing ourselves to be self-loving, self-nurturing, self-honoring, self-respecting. When we are saying, hey, this being is important and it deserves recognition.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you can walk into a room and not, well, I don't want to say what you wouldn't. Instead, let me say what you would emanate. You can walk into a room emanating that self-love that you live within yourself. And no matter what someone's going through in the room or where they're at in their lives or what they're dealing with, you come through in a place of compassion and grace. And people feel that.
They do. Oh,
Mhm.
they do. And what's so lovely is that before I always felt like I had to do more. Just walking in the room wasn't enough. I had to be the one that was making sure everyone was okay and finding the one that was
Yeah,
not okay and sitting in the corner and go sit with them. And now that I am a presence of love, I can walk in the room and know that my energetic output is doing the work for me.
yes, it is.
And that is so freeing.
There's this concept I've been studying for some time because it's contrary to all of my programming and conditioning growing up. And we all know that we're a product of 0 to 7, right? But the concept is that, just in being, you create. So just being you without actually sending an email, a text, or picking up the phone, just being you is prosperity. It is joy. It is um, business development. If you're in your business, like this doesn't just stop and start with you as a person. It's who you're being in every way, everywhere.
Well, I think once you step into that authentic being, that persona that you decided this is going to represent me in this life on this journey, once that is who you are representing, there's no more confusion. You are so completely authentic that it's
Mhm.
like being a walking business card. This is
Yeah,
who I am. This is what I want to represent. This is what I'll continuously represent, and you're safe with me because I'm not going to flip around or become something else. This is just who I am.
that's right. Yeah, unapologetically. There's something very healing, I think, for humanity when one person can um, find that in themselves and embrace it and start living it. The echo from that, I think, is very profound, and I think it has its own resonance. I think it has its own sound, and I think it carries out into the cosmos and it releases layers of struggle that have been in our DNA, in our cellular structure for eons. Because this stuff is old. It's like, it's really, really old. It's not new. It's being regurgitated these days with everything that's going on politically in the world and all the stuff that's happening. Um, but it's not new. It's very, very old stuff. And I feel that as this more and more people understand, which is why I wanted you to kind of break down and unpack self-love in the beginning of the show here, as more and more people understand the terminology and embrace it and let it sort of infiltrate their psyche, then there's even a greater resonance and a greater sound, like it's a vibration that emanates out, and it's freeing more and more and more of humanity.
You know, that's such an important part, important concept to mention right now, which is why are things appearing to get worse? If it's
Right.
always been, here, if we've always been dealing with this, but we have to recognize that we are at a pivotal point in our timeline, and so many of us now are choosing that higher, lighter, brighter way of living
Mm-hmm.
to walk in unconditional love. And that is giving permission for some of these darker, heavier energies to be brought to the surface, not to cause pain, but so that we can be aware of them and consciously choose to clear them.
And let
And
them
so,
go. Yeah.
yes, things don't go because they've been packed so far down, we're never going to hear from them again. They go because they have been brought to the surface, examined, and then determined no, we don't want that kind of darkness or that kind of negativity. We
Yeah.
want unconditional love and acceptance for all. So things are not really getting worse, they are
No,
getting clearer.
that's a good one. And the reason it seems like they're getting worse is because the cover up, the veil. So as long as humanity, and I'm just going to say this like as a generalization, as long as humanity lived in lack and in fear and doubt, everything that's the opposite of self-love is fear, doubt, lack, criticism, self-loathing, all of that stuff. As long as humanity lived there, that kept a really nice cloak over top of all the pain, suffering, corruption, um, everything that has been done to children, and the torture. And I mean, it's just like it's unconscionable. And so as soon as we all, not, even just one person, but as more of us step into this space of self-love, that cloak no longer can maintain itself. It's dissolving. And so it looks like it's getting worse because we're actually seeing what was hidden. But as soon as we see what's hidden, it loses its power over us.
And I think it's important to note that we are not asking people to run out and do something about these things. We are
Right.
asking you to go within and discover what vibration you want to carry forward. Do you want to be part of the darkness, or do you want to be part of the light of love? When you change the way that you are carrying and interacting with energy, it impacts everything and everyone around you. So
Yeah.
you don't have to go out and uh, do something that you may not feel qualified to do to stop it. You can begin right here. If you are led to do something more, then absolutely. But if you begin right here, you will have made a tremendous impact.
Well, that's true. And because the whole notion of doing, to actually do something about something, comes from that old paradigm, I believe, that is not of self-love. Because in the doing, we're compensating for what we don't feel or believe about ourselves. And the more busy work and the more we do, I saw this post on Facebook. This mom had posted something about what a typical weekend looked like for her family. They had a couple kids, and it was like time blocked for two days solid, where it went. I think she had 3 kids, so there was soccer games, basketball games, football games, birthday parties, lunches. Like it was just a
Oh,
never ending whirl. And everybody was like, yeah, wow, that's amazing. You get a lot done. Wow, how organized you must be. And I put a little comment and I said, do you ever have any unscheduled time for your family just to be?
Are you not exhausted?
Yeah, like just be, honey. And
Right.
see, the whole notion of not having to go outward is self-love. Because I really believe that our society has been geared toward overworking, overstimulation, overcompensating for some kind of internal lack of whether that's self-worth, self-esteem, uh, you know, don't have any self-love. And so what do we typically do? We just go get more stuff to do. I mean, I did that.
Oh, yes. Everything was outside. Certainly when I was growing up, the markers that you were judging yourself by were all outside. No
Uh-huh.
one made any mention of how you felt. It was how are you perceived by someone
Yes.
else? How are your efforts? How is your appearance? Everything
Mhm.
was, what does someone else think of you? That's what is should be important to you. And going within brings so much
Yeah,
freedom, so much peace and joy. It's a miraculous transformation of love.
it is. It is. And um it makes your entire life different. I've been doing this exercise, I guess, probably for the last 2, 3 months, just randomly, when I felt it. And because I journal pretty much every day or every other day. And I was sitting with my journal and I just wrote at the top of the page, what does my soul want?
Mm.
Because I was thinking, I've been at this business for probably half of my life. And is that really what my soul wants? Because when I first got into the business of coaching and speaking and stuff, I was in a I was in a totally different place as a human being. I had a completely different relationship with myself
Mhm.
then that I do now. And so the game is a very different game for me from an internal perspective. And sometimes I've written that question a lot, and sometimes I come up with an answer, and sometimes there's nothing, and it just maybe comes later, or maybe it doesn't come at all. But it does come in demonstration, at least for me. I think I'm more of a kinesthetic person, where things will come as a demonstration, and so it will show up in my life just as an experience or a conversation, or I overhear people chatting about something. And there's the answer. And I'll tell you, it's really made me rethink my entire business model and my whole career and frankly my life, especially after landing, in the ER last week. It's like, okay,
Right.
no, right? Let's okay, this is a sign. This is a sign. What are we going to rethink here?
Right. Well, what are we
Mhm.
learning?
Yeah. Still unpacking that one. It's only been a few days. Still don't have all my energy, but you know how it is.
Well, and I love the fact that you mentioned that there is no one way. There's
Right.
no one right way. There's no one avenue by which you're going to receive this information or the communication. And so it's just really a matter of being open
Yeah.
and exploring.
Yeah.
Journaling might work for a really long period of time, and then you may switch completely, or that may always work. So be open, keep exploring, recognize that the divine are not limited. So they will get the message to you in whatever form is for your highest good at
Yeah.
whatever time. And all
Yeah.
you really need to do is to be open and willing to receive.
That's right. And I think too, it comes from asking higher level questions. So, for example, coming out of a critical background, I know you can relate to this because you had this childhood too. Coming out of a critical background, the questions were always, what's wrong with me? Why can't I get this right? How come I'm always like messing up? Like these are the kinds of questions that literally you tear yourself down even deeper. And so learning to ask higher level questions of, say, well, what else is possible? Or, what haven't I thought of yet? Or what approach, what can I take from this that gives me insight that I couldn't grasp before? And so when you ask those higher level questions, then you basically, you open your heart up to be able to receive awareness, just the feeling of completeness that you're guided. And when you feel that feeling of completeness that you're guided, things just always fall into place. My favorite saying is, everything is always working out in my favor.
Absolutely. And it is true for everyone because
Mm-hmm.
there are no favorites. There are no chosen.
Oh,
There's no
thank you.
one better than another. All of us have equal access to this information if we allow it to be so.
Yeah,
And one thing they have reminded me again and again is you can't get to what's right from what's wrong. And
that's right.
I was such a fan of what's wrong that I did never acknowledged anything that was right. The what's right, well, yeah, of course, I had to do
Hold
that.
on a second. So you said, so this is old stuff you dealt with. So you were a fan of what's wrong. And so what would that look like?
Oh, what am I doing wrong? How
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
what's wrong with me? Why did that fail? Oh, I'm such a failure. Oh, what's wrong
Mm,
now? I had no compass guiding me toward look at all that is happening that
yeah,
is right. Look at the beautiful way this is unfolding. It was
yeah.
a fear-based journey, a sprint off the
I
cliff,
know.
off the cliff of what more could go wrong?
Yeah, waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Yes, and
I
now I'm
know.
on this beautiful journey of what exciting synchronicity, what beautiful unfolding is going to happen next that will support me in the direction of my highest good.
Hmm. That's really beautiful. That's another way of saying what I was saying about changing the level of questions you're asking yourself.
Yes,
Yeah,
it just there's a way off the cliff and it is painful. Don't take that. You don't
I
need
know.
to. You know,
Do you think this
that
like
that was
waiting
my
for the
forever life.
that was yeah. Do you think this concept of waiting for the other shoe to drop is kind of it's like a program in society? Do you think that's something that's been running for a long time?
Oh, absolutely. And I think it gets started because what's wrong or the unexpected catches our attention. And,
Sure.
we go along and our lives are just sort of running on autopilot and most things are going really well.
Yeah,
And then, uh-oh, you're in the ER and you need a blood transfusion.
I
Whoa,
know.
that
Wait a
gets your
minute. It
that
totally does.
gets your attention.
Yeah.
And we get focused on, oh, what's wrong with this? Instead, your way of saying, what is it that I am needing to take from this, learn
Mhm.
from this, understand from this is the door that will open.
And it
The
did.
oh
Yeah.
my gosh, what other bad thing is going to happen is just slamming the door of understanding in your
Mhm.
face, and then you blindly fall off the cliff. When you say, okay, what is this experience wanting to teach me? Now you can make a positive choice that will lead you in the direction of highest good.
Yeah. What's the message here for sure? Yeah. Plus, I think too, it gives you an opportunity to really decide to be, at least for me, it was an opportunity to really decide to just be me,
Yeah.
not to try to be something for somebody else, just to be me. And I'm still downloading that, you
Well, and
know,
I think that question is, how have I compromised my authenticity? And
100%.
we all do it all the time
You do.
because someone comes with a need and we may forget who we are wanting to help them. And
Oh, that's good.
it took me a long time to understand me becoming them to help them
Yeah,
just
doesn't
hurts both
work.
of just
Yeah,
hurts both of
exactly.
us.
Exactly. No, that's really good. I like that. I think that authenticity piece is really the key. And so that comes of the programming, that again, 0 to 7 are the imprint years, right?
Right.
So, and then let's say basically 0 to 14, we're taught the opposite of self-love. Like it's almost like many of us or most of us were taught self-loathing. And getting beyond that is like, that's a major paradigm shift.
Well, certainly we didn't have social media
Sure.
in our youth, but we had plenty of advertising, and advertising was all about don't love who you are, love this thing you could become with our product.
Yeah. Oh,
And
yeah, that was a good one. Yes.
that
Buy
was
this, smoke that, drink
right.
that, and you'll be better, nicer. People
That's
will
going to
like you
make you
more.
somebody that will admire. And
Yeah.
we don't care that we're hurting this because this is not important. What we see is important. So show us, impress us.
The
I don't know who
superficial.
yeah, I don't know who us was, but I was always trying to impress them, and I never understood what it was doing to me.
I think that was industrial revolution kind of mindset of the coming through the 50s,
Yeah.
where everything was this, you had this sort of life that looked a certain way,
Yes.
and you hid from the rest of the world what was going on behind the scenes. I know in my family, we had a lot swept under the carpet. You know what I'm saying? And it was just taboo to talk about any of the stuff that was going on. And there was a lot of stuff going on, let me tell you. So um, if you weren't allowed to talk about it, then you could never really make sense of it. You could never really dissolve it or move past it. And so thank goodness we're not in that place anymore.
Amen,
But
and thank goodness that we are no longer in that fault-finding place.
exactly.
That was brutal. If it's not
Yeah.
going right, well, it must be your fault. Well, what
Something
is
wrong with you.
right?
Mhm.
And then you ask questions like, "Well, what is it about me?" "Oh, we don't talk about things like that." Or
Right.
it's just it's your fault. If you hadn't been born or had the color hair you have, everything
Mhm.
would be different. And, these ridiculous assumptions that couldn't positively or negatively impact anything became the way that we would determine success and failure. And it
Yeah.
was just so nebulous. You couldn't get a hold of it. Again, it was always this outer thing. If I achieved this,
Mhm.
then I would be seen as worthy. Well, I achieved and achieved and achieved and achieved, and nothing made this better. It
I
just
got you.
created a emptier hole in my being because the more I achieved and the less that it meant that the self-worthy meter was going lower and lower.
Totally. And the thing is that when it's all about what you achieve on the outside, it's it's like a black hole. Like you can never achieve enough because the bar keeps moving.
Right.
You never get to the bar. You achieve something, and then it's like the bar moves ahead, and then you go after that, but meanwhile you're going after it, it's still moving ahead, and it's like being on a hamster wheel. And frankly, I really feel that society is designed that way on purpose and has been for a long time because it's been a way of keeping the masses entertained by their own striving, to get to whatever is supposed to be this acceptable space of achievement and accomplishment that you can never complete.
Well, it keeps us going to work.
Doesn't it?
We keep showing up to make that paycheck so that we can buy that next
The
thing that
next
will
thing.
make us have greater value in the eyes
Mhm.
of someone else. So, yeah, I would agree with you that it's very much a manipulation of the individual. Instead
Yeah,
of saying, you have value and I'm going to help you find that value, they say, our product has value. And when you own it, you will have the value that our product gives you.
right, right. That's the sales pitch. And the thing is that you're valuable without the product. You're valuable without that brand, you know. This is fascinating. I mean, we could talk about this all day. This has really been great. So you're the founder of the Heart Healing Foundation. You must be are you in West Hollywood, Los Angeles?
Yes.
Yeah, really good. So lots of opportunity there. And do you do classes? How do you work with people? What's your URL?
It is the hearthealingfoundation.org, and
Okay.
we support those who have experienced abuse and trauma
Oh,
because we understand that when you clear and heal your heart, you're going to be able to rise from that place of victimhood to
yeah,
to victorious. And what's really wonderful is your victory positively impacts all of us.
of course.
So I love working with people who have experienced trauma, just really got beaten down, and introducing them to the idea that you can clear and heal your heart and you can rise. And it is so wonderful to see people blossom, to let
Mhm.
them recognize, gosh, all of this was inside me all this time. And I didn't realize it or didn't know how to access it.
That's awesome. So you do one-on-one sessions, or you do group sessions,
We
or
do both. We
do
have
both? Okay.
one on one, we have group. The foundation is a pay what you can group setting. The private is one on one. And then we're working on a course so that you could just do a self study if
Nice.
if that is something that interests you. What I love most about this work is I work directly with the energetic realm. So they are always giving me new tools that I can use to unwind what's going on in my life, in my head, in my heart, wherever. It's not just me trying to sit down and be really disciplined. I'm going to get over this now. They give us tools that just make it easy.
Yeah. Well, I feel that most people have a lot of trauma that they're not even aware of, and
If
being
you've
able
been
to
on the
clear.
earth for been
Yeah,
here for more than a minute, you got some trauma
you've
stored.
got some trauma stored, and when you clear the trauma, it's like your whole life heals.
Yes, yes. When
It
you are
does.
not, and I think we also need to recognize when you are not holding on to your personal trauma or feeling responsible for someone else's trauma,
Right.
you have a much clearer understanding of what your purpose is.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, because if you're trying to, if you're sponging other people's trauma and you're holding it, or you're trying to fix theirs, there's no space for you to tap into your own purpose. Like it just takes up all that space. The energy of that is so heavy and
And
so
it
damaging to the cells.
yes, and
Hmm.
people will, I just don't understand why I'm so exhausted. Well,
Right.
in 5 minutes, I got
I can tell you.
I got a list of reasons why these are the areas that we're going to clear so that you don't have to keep laboring under that burden.
Oh my God, Marcia, you're an angel to the earth. Thank you.
Oh,
Yeah,
you're welcome. Believe me, this is my greatest joy because I was there
I
and had
bet.
no idea that I had ever experienced trauma, that that was not normal, that I could expect and actually live in a world that felt good.
Yeah,
So I was just going along with, oh, what bad thing is going to happen next?
yeah,
And that was my life. Oh, what should I be prepared for? Never celebrating, never joyful, never getting excited to see how things were going to work out. It was always fear.
yeah,
What horrible thing is coming that I need to be prepared for? Or what horrible thing has someone else experienced that I need to take from them and
process for
hold
them.
on to for
Yeah.
whatever reason so that they don't have to be so burdened.
You
You
know,
know,
I want to say this about that. So when it comes to clearing trauma, um, I had a train of thought here. Now, how did I want to say that? So you can't. I mean, you can meditate, which I have all my clients meditate. You can say affirmations. You can be positive. You can always look at the bright side. You can do all of that, which we should do anyway. That's just the basics of living life. It's not like it's something that is separate. It's just that's just a way of living. That's a paradigm, right? But I can see this. Like you can do all of that, but if you don't clear the trauma, all of that is really a band-aid. And if the
it
trauma is still there, you're still experiencing the reverberation of the trauma in different ways in your life.
and probably saying to yourself, because this was my experience, affirmations don't work.
Right.
You cannot. I one way that I heard it explained beautifully is if you have a bathtub full of dirty water and you open the tap and pour in clean water, which is your affirmation,
Sure. Yeah.
it's going to take a really long time for all of that dirty water to be replaced by
Just
the
switch
clean
out.
water.
Hmm.
Let let the dirty water go first,
Yeah.
then fill yourself with loving, uplifting, and inspiring material. But please don't try to have all of this darkness and pain and despair living inside of you and believe that if you just say, I am an amazing being, that it's going to somehow do the work of clearing and healing
Yeah.
that space. It's dishonoring to you and it's discouraging because a year after repeating affirmations faithfully, I was
Uh-huh.
further behind than when
Girl, I
I
know.
had
Me too. Me
started.
too.
Yeah,
And that's
have
why I
to.
wanted to bring that up because for all of the viewers that are having a hard time, hard go of it in some area of your life, be really willing to look at the trauma from the past and clear it out so that when you do say those affirmations and you do set those goals, because this was my experience, I would set goals that I knew I could achieve. They really weren't beyond me at all. And I just never achieved them. I'd have to reset them. And it was because of all the trauma that was in my system that
Oh,
was just like a vice grip and it wasn't letting anything new in.
well, and the trauma may be saying you're not allowed to achieve that because
Exactly.
that will negatively impact somebody else that you care about. So
Yeah.
you would start and then you would get this brick wall that
Yeah, it
said,
was a brick wall. Yeah.
if you
Walked through,
do
there's lots of
this,
those.
yeah, if you do this, so and so may not like it. And then without even thinking about it, you immediately, oh, yes.
Yeah, and that wasn't even a conscious awareness. That was probably just
No,
percolating in the
it's
background.
all trauma has been encapsulated and given to the subconscious mind
Mhm.
to serve as our protector, because the trauma has taught you, well, you're not safe.
Yeah,
And so if you continue with this behavior that brought on the trauma, you will continue to be less and less safe. So we're going to protect you by reminding you, freeze, fly, do something
yeah,
except interact with this thing. But
yeah.
what we don't recognize is that when we experienced the trauma, we didn't have any of the education or the training or the knowledge.
The
And so
awareness. Yeah.
we just had to react with what was, and we were usually quite small. So,
And if it was the norm in the family and everybody was being traumatized, then you just
then,
didn't question it.
right. And, the people in power in your life would have been the ones that would have been telling you, no, this is the way it's supposed to be,
That's
or,
right. Don't
uh,
question it.
right, or this trauma was inflicted on you by people in power. So
Yeah.
it takes a lot of love, self love, to be able to go. And that's why I work with the energetic realm. They are the most loving and protecting energies. They will let you see what was going on and safely eliminate it without any crying, begging, screaming, any of that horrible recap. It is a learning experience instead of an emotionally devastating
Yeah, you
experience.
become more aware.
Yeah. You need to know what happened and what it was doing to you. Then you need
Mhm.
to be able to eliminate that energy or transform it. And the most important thing then is to replace it with higher, lighter, brighter energy.
Yeah, that's the key.
We got to
Gosh.
make sure we don't leave any of those open wounds.
Uh-huh.
You think, oh, well, I've cauterized the wound or cleaned it out or whatever. Please replace it with something you do want.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the wound pattern is going to come back because it's what you know. So it isn't you failing, it is just you going offline, which we all do. And then the familiar, which is the wound,
Yeah.
says, oh, what are you doing? You need to go do what we always did. And you will
Uh-huh.
find yourself doing what you always do.
Back where you, yeah,
So replace
the
it with
vicious
something
circle.
you do
Mm.
want. Get used
Good.
get used to that. Hey, I'm a brilliant, beautiful light. And instead of, yeah, what's
Mhm.
wrong?
And and we really have to go here, but I think there's a lot of that on the planet right now. I've been calling it the post-pandemic era. I think
Oh,
the real
yeah.
pandemic we're dealing with right now is mental illness for a lot of people, and lots of folks are caught up in this COVID funk where they they were isolated so much and just triggered so much by fear of death and all sorts of negativity that they just haven't really recovered or come out of that.
And that's why we created the foundation. That
Yeah,
is,
I'm sure it is.
it's
That's probably
that's
what
the
motivated
purpose.
you. Yeah,
Yes, the purpose was, whoa, COVID changed the landscape.
it
We
really
really
did.
need to step it up. I can't be just a private. I've got to find a different way to serve.
Yeah, me too. I'll tell you after my visit to the ER last week, I'm definitely reinventing everything. It's going to take me a little bit here, but it'll be cool. There'll be
Yeah, and
something
don't
great come out of it on the other end, and there's no rush.
exactly, don't be
Uh,
afraid to take the time that you need to fully understand what you learned from this experience.
well, yeah, and I don't think I've ever stopped working. Like I think
Mhm.
I was 14 when I got my first job, And I'm pretty sure I've never stopped working. And when you're working and you're building businesses and you're building up clients and you're still not fully healed from your own trauma, it just is it's depleting. And when you think about the correlation metaphorically between the blood and the depletion of energy of output, right? It's when we have an issue with the body, a health issue, the health issue starts in the spiritual aspect of us first.
Yes, it does.
Right. And so by the time it hits the body, it's been hanging around for a long, long time. Like it's been percolating back there for a very long time. And it's trying to get your attention. But if we're so busy striving and working and chasing money and chasing goals to impress people, to your point, then you just don't have the consciousness, the conscious awareness to tune into what you're really doing to yourself. So I get it. I get the message. Thank you, Lord. It's loud and clear. Like this is based in a release that is very almost prolific that I'm experiencing right now. And the rest of the material going into these books is going to be a lot of fun. So
I bet it's going to be amazing.
Yeah. Gosh, I so appreciate you. It's been wonderful having you.
It's just so lovely to have these conversations with others that are wanting to share, because we're better together. And
We are.
the more that we can share, the more of us who are able now to function beyond the trauma, to have said, hey, I don't need that anymore. I'm
No more
choosing
trauma.
to release it. I'm choosing to chart a course that is going to honor all of me instead of hide who I came to be.
Yeah.
And
Well,
it's
that's
safe.
a good one.
It is safe now for you to be who you are in your entirety. I know there was a time here on the planet where it felt that you needed to hide, but so many of us have awakened to this understanding that we do have divine support, and it is safe. It is safe, and you are needed.
Yeah, that's a great ending point. You are safe and you are needed, and you're worthy. So stop questioning yourself, right?
Always.
Yeah. Gosh, thank you so much. And again, give us your URL to your website so we've got that.
It's thehearthealingfoundation.org.
And you're based in Los Angeles and you do private sessions and you have classes.
And we do it via Zoom, so you can be anywhere in the world. If you want your heart to be cleared and healed, we want to help you.
Okay. Well, we're going to get this out to my network, and do send over that download that you have, and I'll have Margie put it into the show notes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a free holiday ebook, because the holidays always
Are tough.
And they always feel like they've snuck up, but really we should be preparing all year round. But it's okay,
Really
because we've got some techniques in there that will help you get ready to have that holiday experience without exhausting yourself, without you feeling as though you need to be the sacrificial lamb so that brother or sister doesn't get
that's a good one.
Harsh treatment.
Awesome. All right, my dear. Thank you so much for being here. Please come back again when I reboot the podcast. I'll have Margie reach out to you.
It'll be an honor. Thank you.
Thank you, Marcia. Take care. And listen, everybody, thank you so much for all the support and love that you've given me and the show for the last few years. It really means a whole lot to me. I know we've covered a wide range of topics, a really wide range of topics. And we've touched on some really hard conversations that most people aren't willing to have on a live broadcast. But That's just the way I'm wired. I'm willing to talk about the stuff that needs to be talked about. So we'll be doing some good stuff in the future, and I'll keep in touch with you. We might have some special sort of one-off episodes for you coming up here with the holidays, and definitely get a hold of Marcia's download in the show notes, and you can use that for the holidays. And that'll be a great way for you to deal with everything that's going on in this world. Thank you again, everybody. Remember, happy holidays, happy Christmas, stay aligned, stay alert, and stay awake.